this is a contact case that has been orchestrated by the government, and that is supported by the same people that have been most active in debunking Billy Meyer. I've talked personally, one by one, to all of them. I have my own test questions to figure out the political position of a UFO researcher, and all of them have tested positive. We all remember the Men in Black stories of the 60s. I have a feeling that the genetic experimentation has advanced so much that the human genetic code has been cracked and recorded on a computer, on a supercomputer, a long time ago. And that in these genetic labs, actually, we have computer-aided design of new designs for beings, of hybrids between different types of animals, between humans and animals. The Men in Black could easily be the first and not very successful models of a biological robot, a cyborg, that looks like us. Mr. Data from the Star Trek reality is probably a more advanced version of such technology. From some time I've been seriously suspecting the possibility that the little grays could too be biological robots, cyborgs, without souls. This would explain their lack of compassion and personality. This would very neatly explain their supposedly beehive mentality, where each individual is controlled by the collective of other individuals. It's not the collective, it's the supercomputer, either in the saucer or somewhere, the big mainframe. There are little grays that are cyborgs for other grays. Maybe the design was introduced here. With a proper technology, you can put a little gray, the information, the know-how, the software, how to build a little gray on a few optical discs. And it is very easy technically to transfer such a being from one civilization to another. It would have even been created by our government. If we can turn on the lights. And this is basically the end of it. Is there any questions?
Yeah. Yeah. At the risk of being unpopular, I wanted to point out about the on Mars, a few observations from the point of view of someone who's had a lot of experience in special effects. The fact that it's broken up into about 5 or 6 sections arouses suspicion exactly what an effects man wants and decided in order to be able to break it up and make it easier to divide it up into sections. This doesn't prove anything, but it's an effects analysis of this. If you look at it carefully, you'll notice that on the shot where you make the big turn, you are not moving forward, hardly at all. And if you look at that, if you see it again and you imagine it as an immense mural, a painting, like a matte painting like you see in Star Wars, and this was a couple of years before Star Wars at most, rotating. And you're rotating a mural through that window. You're not moving forward in that shot. It could be a painting. Then it's all blurred again, and then you're moving forward, but at a considerably lower angle over red terrain.
This is a very good argument, actually.
Could be red terrain over the earth.
Good argument by a colleague of ours that is beginning to show this suspicious look.
I'll give you one more.
My answer to this argument is that we all know that sources can stop on a dime,
Yes.
so it can be very easily explained.
This is not a proof that it is. It's just an argument that
but it's a very good
could be.
argument.
And there's one other.
One that I haven't thought about that. It's a very good argument.
There's one other argument here to argue that it's fake. One thing that the special effects technology at that time for creating creatures and movement artificially, such as a mole-type creature moving across the ground that displaces the earth, it was stop-motion animation, where everything is shot one frame at a time. With Star Wars, we now have the technology to do this with what we call computer control, where the camera can be moving through the whole thing. You couldn't do it back then, coming off of the days of Ray Harryhausen special effects, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, the early color things from 1957 on. What you needed to do for that kind of special effect was have a stationary camera. And if you look at this very carefully, you'll notice that the ship lands and reaches an absolutely stable position. It has stopped prior to the first motion of the dirt. Now you have a slight pan in on the dirt as the dirt is moving, which can easily be done with the zoom lens moving at one frame at a time as the dirt is being moved one frame at a time and you're moving on. But the prerequisite for doing it as a special effect is have your ship stop first, have the camera stop, be in a stationary position, then start your stop frame. And this is done in accordance with what would be necessary for that technique. And I think those clues, in addition to the fact this is broken up into 5 different sequences, argue poorly for this being real. And I do think that some of the flyovers could be Earth shots over Red Desert.
I mean, it can be easily faked. I mean, it can be easily staged, very easily. My feeling is that very often real facts and real footage is woven for educational purposes. And this is the only ground that I look at the film for being real.
And to make one final sum up, I agree, it could be either way, but when you look at it and